the 1500s, if you walked into a European pharmacy in pain, the medicine they handed you might have once been a person, not a plant, not a mineral, not an animal extract, a human body, ground into powder, sold by the spoonful. And for 500 years, doctors swore it worked. It started with a mistake. Centuries earlier, Persian and Arab physicians used a black, tar-like substance called Mumia to treat wounds. It wasn't human, it was bitumen, pulled from the earth. But somewhere along the trade routes, the word survived, and the meaning didn't. Europeans heard Mumia. They looked at Egypt's black, resin-coated corpses, and they made a connection that was completely wrong and completely irreversible. They decided the medicine wasn't a mineral, it was the mummy itself. By the 1500s, Mumia was a legitimate pharmaceutical. Apothecaries stocked it on the same shelves as herbs and tinctures. Physicians prescribed it for bruising, internal bleeding, headaches, seizures, even a broken heart in the emotional sense. King Francis I of France reportedly carried a pouch of powdered mummy mixed with rhubarb, just in case of injury. This wasn't folk superstition on the fringes of society. This was mainstream medicine, endorsed by royalty, sold in the same shops as your bread and your cloth. But then something strange happened. Demand grew faster than Egypt's supply of ancient dead. And when demand outpaces supply, someone always finds a way to keep selling. Grave robbers began raiding tombs faster than they could be replenished. But even stolen mummies eventually ran out, so the trade adapted. Suppliers began drying out the recently dead, executed criminals, enslaved people, plague victims, treating the bodies to look ancient, then shipping them to Europe labeled as authentic Egyptian mummies. This is the part almost nobody talks about. The medicine people swallowed wasn't always 3,000 years old. Sometimes it was someone who had died weeks earlier, someone with a name, a family, a death they never agreed to profit from. And the person swallowing that powder had no way of knowing the difference. Here's what makes this stranger than a simple case of people used to be ignorant. Some physicians did speak out. The surgeon Ambroise Paré called the practice pointless and grotesque, centuries before it finally faded out. And still, it survived for 500 years, because this was never really about pharmacology. It was about fear, the fear of decay, the fear of dying weak, dying in pain, dying forgotten. And underneath that fear, a very old, very human belief that death holds a kind of power, and if you consume enough of it, some of that power might transfer to you. That belief didn't start with Mumia, and it didn't end with it either. We still chase the same promise today. We just changed the packaging. We drink extracts and take supplements and inject substances we don't fully understand. Chasing the same ancient bargain, trade something unsettling now for a little more time later. This isn't really a story about ancient medicine. It's a story about what we are willing to do and willing to believe when we are desperate enough to escape our own mortality. We like to think superstition belongs to the past, that we've moved beyond it. But for 500 years, some of the most educated people in Europe swallowed the dead, believing it would keep them alive. Maybe the real question was never whether a corpse could heal you. Maybe it was how much of yourself you'd be willing to consume just to believe it could.